Good day. Welcome to this lecture series in Godot.
Hello, good day. Welcome back. In this video, we will consider the Z index and the draw order in Godot. So let's get started. So first, let's look at the draw order. The draw order refers to the order in which the nodes are rendered to the screen. So let me illustrate this by playing. So I'll play the run project because this is the default scene. So we see this file there. That's, I think, was the sprite 2D for the player one. Anyhow, this is the sprite 2D and this is the spaceship. And we have the background here. We have the background. I think this was a rect. And let's see. This background was a TextureRect. So if we go back to here, we can see the background is at the back, and we see the spaceship, the player one, and this is player one, and this is sprite 2D. We have all these three nodes. Of course, we know player one is a scene that has been instanced, but nevertheless, all these three nodes are in front of the background. So, which is the TextureRect. So we want to know why, what determines the order of these things. So let's look at player, right? Player one, we can select it. You can move it around, right? No problem. So let's look at the background here. Let's take player one and move it before the background. It's still there now. When you hover here, we still see it here now. But when you move off when you hover, you can see it. But when we move the cursor, the mouse, we can't see it. So right now, what we are seeing now is the background is in front of the player one. So what we are seeing here essentially is how the draw order inside of a scene, so right now, player one is behind the background. So if you take player one and you drag it down, it's now in front of the background. So player one is in front of the background. Player one is in front of the spaceship. Player one is also in front of the sprite 2D. That's because it's here in the draw order. It's lower down in the draw order. So the draw order will be sufficient when we have a small scene like this. There's a background, there's just a sprite, there's one spaceship, which is also a sprite 2D, and there's the player one. I mean, we only have three nodes and the background node. So when you have a small scene like this, I mean, this is okay, right? And you can select when you want player one to be in front of everything else. But when you're working with a larger scene with many different nodes and so forth, I mean, do you have to arrange it like this, like a draw order like this, to make sure you put every node in front of every other node you want it to appear? I mean, for a larger scene, that's not practical, especially when you start moving nodes around. So you can bypass this with the Z order. So let's select this spaceship node here. We know this spaceship node is behind the player one. So let's adjust the canvas item. So we have it selected here. And let's affect the Z order. Well, I think it's Z item. We go to canvas item, we go to ordering, and this is Z index. So we have right now the Z index. So the Z index will be on a 0 here. And if we increase it to, like, let's say 1, it will be in front of everything else. So even so, let's say we have these sprites. Let's say we have player one. Player one, the Z index, go to the ordering, it's on 0. So because player one is on Z index of 0 and the spaceship is on the Z index of 1, that means the spaceship is on a higher ordering than the player one. So let's drag the spaceship in front of player one. We can see the spaceship is now appearing in front of player one. So although in terms of the draw order, the player one is in front of the spaceship, the mere fact in terms of the Z order, well, the Z index, this has a higher Z index. This is more in front than this. I mean, this will appear, the spaceship here, the sprite 2D of the spaceship will appear before player one. I also want to mention this same concept applies in GDevelop. This same concept applies in also games like, let's say, Unreal Engine. This comes into play a lot in Unreal Engine when you work with widgets and you want some things to be in front of another. Because when you work with a widget, essentially you work with a 2D scene and you'll be drawing things like on a 2D scene like this in a widget. And you see what comes into play, determine what button, what item you want in front of the other items. So when you have two nodes and the two nodes are on the same Z order or Z index, this draw order from the scene tree here will take effect. So we have the sprite to the right. If you look at the ordering, this is on the Z index of 0. If you look at player 1, this is on the Z index of 0. However, because player 1 is, in terms of draw order, is lower down than sprite, then we can take player 1 and player 1 will appear before the, well, in front of the sprite 2D. However, because player 1 is on the Z index of 0, which is a lower order than the Z order of the sprite spaceship, which is 1, when you take player 1, even so if it have a lower draw order, it will still be behind of the spaceship right here, the sprite 2D of the spaceship. So I just wanted to make note of that. So before I end this video, I just want to go back to the scene for the player 1. And if you look at player 1 here, we see we have the sprite. So we have the rigid body 2D, we have the sprite 2D, and then we have the collision shape. Now, if we look here, we see this has a, like, let's say a tint, right? But if we select the collision shape and we click this move, the move selector, and we drag, we see that the reason why this sprite 2D, but the player 1 was appearing to have a tint, is because the collision shape was in front of the sprite 2D. And in terms of the draw order, it was lower down in the draw order. Now, in terms of the ordering, yes, both of them were on the same ordering of 0. So it was because of the draw order, this was appearing in front of here. But nevertheless, we wanted to stay like that because we want to be able to determine, we want to see, physically see how the collision shapes appears. So I'll go back to ordering, I'll go back to transform, I'll reset this. And I won't make any changes here. So I'll go back here. So the last thing I want to do, we'll go to the TextureRect, which is the background, and we want to ensure that this always stays at the back regardless of what we add. So what we can do, we can go to ordering here, and rather than putting Z index at, let's say, 0, we can put it at, let's say, maybe -10. I just put that -10, but it's way in the back because if you have things, let's say we added more and more nodes in the future, I mean, once we don't go beyond that -10, I mean, it will automatically be in front of the background. So regardless of the draw order here, it will be in front of the background because of how we specify the Z index. So I'm saying Z index in Godot, but in other platforms, you can refer to it as the Z order. So that's the draw order and the Z index. So I will end this lecture here. Thank you.